Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
Season 5 begins!
Nice. The season of the audience. This is going to be a good one. Because this is not a forgotten gem.
Today we are doing Mike Field's favorite movie.
No, that's incorrect. How do you let some guy talk to you like that?
You never once did I smile, never once did I laugh. While I watched this movie with my mouth agape, I could actually feel my soul leave my body.
Hi, I'm Mike Field.
And I'm Mike Butler.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. As you know already, each episode we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it's because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or the movie simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. But this season, we're not picking the movies. You, the audience, have selected our films. We're going to discuss what we love, like, or maybe not like about your movie. But we thank you for sharing your passion for the film. And as always, we recommend that everyone revisits the movie we're talking about this week. You never know, you could discover your own forgotten gem. If you enjoy our podcast, please let everyone know by rating, reviewing, and subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. What up?
Nothing. Just about to talk about some juice.
Juice, yo, you got the juice now.
I don't think I have the juice.
You got it. You got it. I got the juice.
Okay.
I guess we're talking about juice.
We're talking about juice.
So, Mr. Butler, why don't you tell everybody what juice is about?
All right. This is straight from IMDb by a writer named Stevenson. 4 Harlem teens, Q, Bishop, Raheem, and Steele, are out skipping school one day when they find out an old friend was killed in a shootout at a bar. After this, Bishop tells his friends that they have no respect or juice. To get some, they rob a corner grocery store, but things take an unexpected turn. Only the 4 friends know what happened, but one of them is out for himself. It's an okay synopsis.
The synopsis bites.
That is not really an
I thought you were keep going. That's it?
No.
That's end? That's
That
it?
is the synopsis.
The synopsis is terrible. But why don't you tell everybody why we are doing this movie?
So we're doing this movie because a friend of mine from high school, who's a listener to the show, Aaron Singleton, recommended this movie. When we did the New Jack movie, he recommended Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, and Juice. And out of those three,
good recommendations.
They're all good films. And I was like, well, Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood are classics. I don't know if they're forgotten.
I don't know if Menace to Society is a classic.
It's definitely not as popular as Boys
I like
in the Hood,
Menace to Society, but I don't like it as much as I like Boys in the Hood. But now, granted, I have not seen these movies in quite some time, so that opinion might change. But go ahead.
So I was like, well, Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society
sure.
are bigger movies. But Juice, I've seen parts of Juice, but Juice isn't really talked about that much.
True.
So I was like, Juice is a good choice to throw in there for audience choice. So I had it in the back of my mind when we went with audience choice, we threw in his recommendation in there. So he's a buddy of mine. And he's a fan of the show.
Good.
So
awesome.
Put it in there.
The other thing about Juice is that Menace to Society took place in LA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society have the same kind of setting. So Juice is more New York City. So
It's
I think
got an East Coast feel, yeah.
I think that was a good choice. Good job on your part, and good job, Aaron, for selecting this. So, what is Juice? All right, Juice was released on Friday, January 17th, 1992. Oh, a fine time to release a movie in January. Tells you they didn't know maybe what to do with it. Had a runtime of 95 minutes. It was rated R. Had a production budget of $5 million. Opening weekend, it brought in $8 million. Domestic and worldwide are the same because I don't believe this was released internationally, and that was $20 million. So brought in all total $20 million. 4 times your production budget. Not bad. No, that's okay. It's good. Production company was Island World and Moritz Heyman. Now, real quick, Moritz Heyman becomes Original Film, which does the Fast Saga, now that they call it. All the Fast and Furious movies. They just did Sonic the Hedgehog and the TV show The Boys, among other things. Island World has gone on. They're no longer... I do not believe they produce a lot more movies these days. They are now... They have done Toy Soldiers, Strictly Business, The Sandlot, Airheads, and the Kevin Costner movie The War. Did you ever see The War?
I have not seen The War.
With Elijah
I don't know
Wood?
if I've ever even heard of that.
He comes back from quote unquote The War, and Elijah Wood's like his son, and he has to kind of relate to his father again. It's actually pretty good. Elijah Wood, like they call it The War because Elijah Wood's with his friends and they're playing war in the woods. So it's kind of, it deals with all of that. It's a father-son thing. It's actually, it's probably a movie we should put on the list because it's pretty good. I enjoyed it. But anyways, distributed by Paramount Pictures. Now I said this movie came out on the 17th of January, 92. So it came up against Free Jack. Did you see that one?
The name sounds familiar.
Free Jack's with Mick Jagger and I believe Emilio Estevez. He's like a race car driver.
Nah.
So he's a race car driver who dies, but somebody comes back in the future to pull him from the destruction, the explosion.
Okay.
And they're going to replace his brain with like a billionaire. Like that's the whole idea.
This sounds like high concept nonsense. I'm all for it, and I need to watch this film.
So so also on the 17th, you had Rush in a wide release, which was the movie with Jason Patric and Jennifer Jason Leigh. Like he's like undercover, and and you had a wide release of Grand Canyon, which was with Danny Glover and Steve Martin. It was like an ensemble piece. These are wide because they were limited. If you don't know this already, a lot of times in January, movies that were limited in December come out. They release like 20 movies in the span of 2 weeks in December, limited, so they can get just in under the gun to be nominated for Oscars. Mm-hmm. But they end up going wide in January. So you have a lot of wide, really good movies going wide in January. So all audiences can watch them. So obviously Rush and Grand Canyon was one of that. The week after, the 24th, you had in a wide release again, Fried Green Tomatoes, which was obviously an Oscar darling for the year before. And then you had the movie Love Crimes. That was exactly by your look. Don't worry. That's why I was I was in January. The week before, on the 10th, you had the Christian Slater action comedy Cuffs, which I'm sure you love.
I do like.
I know you like Cuffs.
I haven't seen Cuffs since the 90s, so I don't know if I'll still like it. But I remember a lot of Cuffs in my mind anyway. Yeah. And in my mind's eye, as the kid that watched it, I was like, I really like this.
I remember Cuffs. And I don't remember as fondly as you do.
That's why I do not want to watch Cuffs.
Also, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Did you see that movie with?
I've seen parts of it, but I don't know if I've ever seen the.
I don't know if I've told you this story about The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. So I saw The Hand That Rocks the Cradle at Milford Pub and Cinema. Now, do you remember that?
I know of it, but
okay. So the Milford, I didn't live in Milford, but it was obviously the town over. The Pub and Cinema was basically like this room where you go in and they're serving like Elio's pizza and like it's just a place to hang out to watch a movie, but you're on couches and chairs and like recliners and you're watching the movie. It's as seedy as it sounds, and it smelled like a bar in there. So you go in there. But I remember I watched Hand the Rush Cradle, and in the beginning of the movie, there's a scene where the obstetrician basically assaults the woman, and as he's doing an exam because she's to find out that she's pregnant. I believe that was what it was. Yeah. And it was the pizza was not good. So I was eating pizza. It was hot. It was dark in there. And like just the sound and all that stuff. It was just, I almost threw up all over the place. So I had to leave and go. And then every time I see The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, I always think about that. It's such a, no. I just think about that time. I just think about that, that experience of watching the movie. The movie's okay. The movie's kind of like a thriller, like kind of like those 90. What was that movie that came out a couple years ago with Rosario Dawson and the actress from Knocked Up,
Katherine Heigl?
Yeah, and she's like Obsession or something like that. She was trying to it's like that kind of movie. Mm-hmm. It's like a thriller kind of I'm going to steal your husband kind of thing, steal your baby. But Rebecca De Mornay's in that. It's not that. It's not terrible. I always remember that. That's like that memory is always going to be in my brain for the rest of my life.
Milford Pub and Cinema. Sounds like some dude just opening up his living room. Come on down and watch this in my brother.
Thinking back, it's very. Probably shouldn't have gone. All right, so let's get back to this movie. So this movie is directed by Ernest R. Dickerson. He also wrote the story he wrote the screenplay with Gerard Brown. He also came up with the story as well. The entire story was developed in film school, so it was an older script that they had put together. Dickerson is more known. He's directed movies like Surviving the Game, Demon Knight, which we talk about a lot on the show, Bulletproof, and he actually does some of the episodes on the TV show Bosch, which I'm a big Bosch fan. So I actually was like, all right, awesome. He's also known more for he's worked on Spike Lee movies quite often. They collaborate. He's been a cinematographer for Spike Lee. He's done Malcolm X, Jungle Fever, Mo Better Blues, Do the Right Thing, and School Days. So some of the earlier stuff before transitioning to a director. Mm-hmm. But honestly, some of the movies that exceptional Bulletproof, which was Demon Knight and Surviving the Game, they're not bad.
Which one's Bulletproof?
Bulletproof's with Adam Sandler. They're like two cops.
Oh, it's Damon Wayans.
Yeah,
He's the con.
Something
criminal.
like that. Yeah.
I remember liking it, but I haven't seen it since it came out.
Again, I remember not liking that.
Not like I thought it was amazing, but it was all right.
Right. So yeah. So like I said, he wrote this movie with Gerard Brown. The only credit I really have for Brown is that he worked on the 1998 TV show Spawn. Didn't last that long.
Oh, the HBO show?
I believe 98.
98 would be the HBO.
Okay.
show.
Yeah, there you go.
That's actually not. You might be interested. That's actually really well written.
Well, I remember saw the movie, but
it is not the movie.
Yeah, I didn't like the movie.
It is an adults only kind of TV show. Like they could get away with it, like the special effects, because in 1998 you can't do those kind of special effects.
Mm-hmm.
But the show's written as if it were a live action show for adults on HBO. It's actually pretty good.
All right. But it only lasted 1 year.
It tells its complete story.
Okay.
So
maybe I'll look into it when HBO Max unloads and it's on there.
I'm sure it will.
they better put it on there. Cinematography by Larry Banks. He's done mostly short films. I wonder when you have a cinematographer that's transitioned to a director like Dickerson, and then you are a cinematographer on the movie with him, how much tough is that? Well, how is that? This is just me talking. I'm curious if there's a collaboration that goes on, or you let it. It's very tough for people to give up. Like when you're so used to lighting, and I'm sure you focus more on what you want visually, and you can communicate that with the cinematographer. But if the cinematographer's not doing what you would do, I wonder if you step in there. I'm just curious.
I think it's more of an issue of how controlling you are.
Right.
But I certainly think that you have a more close relationship with that cinematographer.
Right.
I think you definitely talk it out a little bit more than you would normally.
That makes sense.
But who knows?
Composers, they have two composers here, which is they're the same person, but they have the composers for the Bomb Squad and Hank Shockley. Now, Shockley is part of the Bomb Squad. The Bomb Squad includes Keith Shockley, Chuck D, Eric Sadler, and Gary G. Wiz. Shockley has written a lot of Public Enemy songs. You can every time they do like Fight the Power when you saw it on Star Trek and all that stuff, and like he always has a credit because he wrote the song. So his credits are long, but it's always because their song is in the movie. And they produce more. I think they got together to do this for this movie. I'm sure they did a couple other films, but I think they basically do, albums and other people's songs and stuff like that. Help produce songs and stuff like that. Produced by Peter Frankfurt, David Heyman, and Neil Moritz, as we talked about. They became original film. Frankfurt has produced the Blade trilogy, the 3 Blade movies. Boys, the movie Boys, not the TV show. The movie Boys starring Winona Ryder, and he was associate producer on Lethal Weapon, amongst others. Edited by Samuel D. Pollard. He is nominated for an Oscar for 4 Little Girls. He also edited Private Resort, additional editing on Inside Man. He does mostly documentaries, and I believe he's a professor at NYU right now. Yeah. And Brunilda Torres, who's another editor. She was an additional editor on Jungle Fever and a first assistant editor on Mo Better Blues. It's a very New York-centric production team.
No, that's good.
Yeah. All right, so this movie starred, which if you've seen Juice, you probably already know it stars Tupac Shakur as Bishop. He is from Poetic Justice. These are the movies. Obviously, obviously, everyone would know him more as a singer-songwriter. But he is also in Poetic Justice, Above the Rim, and Gridlocked. Omar Epps plays Q or Quincy. You might know him from the House TV show. I know him from Love and Basketball because I like basketball, so I watched it. The Program and Major League 2, amongst others. He's also, I believe doesn't he get killed? Isn't he in Scream 2? I think he's the one that gets the knife in the ear when he's in the stall in the beginning when he's dating Jada Pinkett Smith.
I saw that once. I don't
really.
I'm not a big Scream guy.
That's too bad. They're good. They're all good. Well, no, they're all good. I like them all. Jermaine Huggy Hopkins as Steele. I knew he looked familiar when I was watching this movie. I'm like, I know this kid. He was in Lean on Me because I've seen that movie a bunch of times. He's also in Fat Beach and How to Be a Player. Khalil Kane, or I think it's Kane, as Raheem. He's from the TV show Girlfriends. He was also in Renaissance Man with Danny DeVito and Badass. That's some other people's movie. I don't know how to say that. Badass. Vincent Laresca as how do you say this guy's name? Redeems?
I thought it was Redeems, but I don't know.
He's also in Romeo and Juliet, K-Pax, which I know you like.
I do.
And Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Hey, Samuel L. Jackson's in this as Trip. Now, I know everyone knows Samuel L. Jackson.
They call him Trip, although they call him the sheriff.
In his role is Trip.
I know.
That's the name of the thing. I know everybody knows Samuel L. Jackson from Marvel movies. I'm going to tell you some movies, but you don't know who he's from. Goodfellas. He was in Goodfellas. He was also in Patriot Games. Do you remember in Patriot Games?
Yeah.
Okay. And he was also in the Nicolas Cage movie Amos and Andrew. I just wanted to throw some movies in there that people didn't know.
Obscure Sam Jackson.
Because I'm not going to sit here and tell you all he's Nick Fury. Really? Queen Latifah has a kind of a small role as her role is Roughhouse MC. You couldn't give her a name. She's in Sphere, Mike. Remember Sphere? We did Sphere, but no one will hear it.
I do remember Sphere.
She's also in Hairspray. She was in Chicago and Bringing Down the House. I have a Michael Badalucco as Detective Kelly. He's the cop, one of the cops.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the TV show The Practice. He's also in Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and he was in Leon the Professional, or just The Professional, as they call it. And then you had Cindy Herron in this, and she played Q's girlfriend, who he had many girlfriends, as Yolanda. Her biggest credit is she was one of the singers in En Vogue for back then. So, anyways, that's the people. That's who's in this movie. You said you never saw this movie.
I've never seen it. I've seen like a couple of clips here and there, but never seen this movie.
Okay, so I had seen this movie because I always remembered the ending. I always remember the freeze frame. I always remember when he was like, yo, you got the juice. And I always remember that freeze frame. So I had seen this movie. I don't know when I saw it or where I saw it or with who I saw it with or stuff like that. Watching it again, I actually got a better appreciation for this movie. And right off the bat, one of the things I noticed, and it's tough because I don't want to compare it to New Jack City, but it's like a year later. But the only reason I'm going to compare it is budget-wise and first-time director-wise. Mm-hmm. So when we talked about New Jack City, I think last season, was it last season?
Yeah, it was last season. Yep.
We talked about how you could see a lot of first-time director stuff in this. You could see a lot of choices that Peoples was making, and you know, it's fine. If you like it or don't like it, whatever. There's a very frenetic nature to that storytelling. We talked about how there's a lot of scenes that maybe were not there. Like we wanted, you know what I mean? Some threads that make sense. Okay. I did not get that sense here. But one of the things that I liked about this movie was the confidence in the storytelling. I loved that. There was some stuff in this movie that when I'm watching it, I was like, okay, like I immediately knew that Dickerson knew what he was doing. Kind of thing in a good way, not in like he didn't. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed some of the shot setups. I enjoyed just story development and stuff like that. That gave me a bigger appreciation for this movie compared and had a lower budget than New Jack. New Jack City had $8 million. This was $5 million, and 2 first-time directors. But it was clear that Dickerson really had a hold of the story and knew what he wanted to do here. And I don't know if you felt that way.
I definitely feel like in terms of budget wise, I feel like New Jack is trying to do more with its budget anyway. Mm-hmm. I think Juice is a smaller story, but I got some first time director kind of stuff. Okay. It did kind of feel like you said, they developed, maybe it's more of a screenwriting thing. You said it was developed when they were in college.
They wrote the story, they put it together when they were in film school, and then somebody saw it, they loved it, so they worked on it.
I kind of got film school script from this a little bit. I kind of got the guys hanging out and just.
You're talking about the kids?
The kids hanging out, the group, the Wrecking Crew they're called. I kind of got that, like watching them react and act and decide to rob the convenience store all seemed rather, and I did very much like this movie until I think it falls apart at the end. A lot of this stuff kind of started to get kind of film school-esque in terms of the story. And I think the directing was good, and there's some shot setups that I really like as well, but there's also some shot setups where I thought it was meh.
Okay, well,
I can see where, but like you said, where New Jack City had scenes where we were like, where's this scene? Where's that? I don't really feel that way that much with Juice. I feel like Juice is missing a couple parts, but I think Juice is, for the most part, complete.
The only thing about the kids is that, because I'm watching it, and one of the things I kept thinking about was the things that they were finding important were ridiculous. You know, just kind of like the stuff that they were saying, like, they were a gang and they were like a group of kids. They were tough. They had to show that, but then I think about the fact that they are kids. They're 16, 15, 16, 17 years old. I mean, I guess they're seniors, even though they don't go to school. They're young. And when you're young like that, and the situation that you're living in, I get that mentality. Not me looking back now, I don't. Obviously, I think it's foolish because I know there's more to come after that life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like but it made a little bit more sense to me that they would behave this way, and they would put the onus on, quote unquote, being respected, and you know what I mean, being thought as tough.
Oh no, I totally think that as kids, the way they were behaving and stuff, I believe them much more than I believe in, what was it, the last episode when we talked about Go. Mm-hmm. I believe these guys as young people way more than I believed any of the kids in Go.
The people in Go are dealing with real life situations that do not exist.
Yeah, that is not real life. That is not kids being kids or white privileged kids being kids. That's nothing.
Copy. Copy that.
These guys, I believe, they're in the streets. They want respect. It's a tough neighborhood, but their dreams are like, I want to be a DJ. I don't care about school. I'm going to be a famous. Like that's totally what a teenager would believe. That's absolutely the way they're hanging out. The fights they have with the gang, that the Puerto Rican gang are very much like teenagers having fights, like tough kids. Just like, you make fun of me. No, I made fun of you. I'm going to beat this kid up. And their scuffle. I believe all of that.
Yeah, no. One of the things I also liked in this movie, and I think it goes to what I was talking about before in terms of Dickerson's, hands on this movie, is that it sets up everybody. It takes its time in telling you the story of these 4 kids.
I love the setup. Yep.
It doesn't give you the first 15, because if this movie's made now by maybe a director that doesn't really have the sensibilities as Dickerson, everything's in the first 15 minutes, and then boom, they get the gun. You know what I mean? Like, because when they get that gun, and I actually thought they got the gun earlier, and for some stupid reason, thinking back to the movie, I thought like they find the gun and then it changes them. Like, I didn't realize that, you know what I mean? The gun became like this impetus to changing how they behave and what happens in their group. I didn't realize it was just kind of like, I got a gun. Okay, let's go. Like,
well, the gun definitely changes Bishop.
Absolutely.
The gun is the juice in a way. Absolutely.
No. I get that. But I enjoy that this movie is like a good 30 minutes of just this is their life. This is what they do. This is how they behave. These are their relationships, and you get the sense of like, Bishop's always, fighting with that gang, like the lead guy.
Bishop wants to be tough because he doesn't think he's always mad because his dad's not tough.
Right.
Because his dad's clearly got some kind of issue, PTSD.
They didn't really, did I miss it?
They never said, I know the Puerto Rican gang makes fun of the dad, but
they never really say why.
They never really say why the dad is catatonic. That's what I'm thinking, a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously Bishop doesn't think Bishop needs to act tough because he feels like his dad and his family are bringing him down.
Yeah.
But I think the other setup is great because at 30 minutes, it's almost like, Q's clearly your main character, but Raheem is pretty close to Q in terms of how many scenes you get with him. He's got a kid and all this setup, which you need, because then when Raheem gets shot by Bishop, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
They killed Raheem.
Yeah.
And if it was like you said, if it was a modern movie and they killed Raheem within the first 5 minutes, all right.
I think they would have
killed somebody that important.
Right. And this movie's 95 minutes long, and you take you actually, it's got a true 3-act structure where you take that first 30 minutes, the first 30 pages, and you're like, these are the people, this is their world. And now these are some of the red flags that you should notice in terms of a Bishop and his character and Q and like what he's interested in, Raheem and how he is. Like, they take their time with all 4. And I appreciate that, because then when you're 60 pages in, 75 pages into minutes to this movie, you actually have some kind of emotional connection to these characters because they took the time to create that.
Right.
And that is extremely lost on a lot of writers and filmmakers these days. And I get it. Maybe that's just the way Hollywood is now and the way the filmmaking, just sensibilities. I understand that. But there's something to say for what you see in Juice in terms of how they were able to make that connection.
Absolutely.
And I can't stress enough how my initial thoughts on this movie 20 years ago, or what I thought, and then watching it, how they changed, because I really appreciated this movie a lot more, just in terms of the storytelling and what like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody talks about this movie, always talks about Tupac Shakur. Tupac Shakur is really good in this movie. He's very good in this movie.
He's good.
Yeah. You don't like him?
He's okay.
I think he's good.
I think he's very...
Omar Epps is good too. They're both good.
I think the other 3 are absolutely fantastic. I think Omar Epps is great, but I always like Omar Epps. But I was really impressed with Khalil Kane as Raheem. I thought Raheem was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he played a good, I'm your best friend, good luck, but he's still making bad choices. Tupac is really good when he's the friend. He's hanging out when he's making fun of the Puerto Rican gang. And then when he becomes evil.
He doesn't become evil.
No, he does. It is such a switch from him looking at his dad, still kind of being sad and not respecting his father, but being just, what's the word I'm looking for? He doesn't respect his father. He's
embarrassed.
Yeah, but when he's looking at him, he has this this apathy, this sympathy, but also this apathy
He's
towards
angry
Friday.
at him because he doesn't understand why he's acting
So he
that
gives
way.
him that 5, and then he goes off. But
Was that a 5? I thought that was 100.
no, he gives him a 5.
Okay.
Which I was like, okay. But he's such an interesting character until like that turn, and then that turn, I don't.
Well, what you're talking about when they fight in the house when he makes
No. I like that fight in the house.
But that's
good.
but that's where you get when they're watching Caged Heat.
Oh no, absolutely. I get that he becomes
Caged Heat, White Heat.
White Heat.
Yeah.
I get that he becomes this villain, and I'm okay with the villain.
So hold on. Caged Heat is a completely different movie. Go ahead.
I get that he becomes the villain of the story,
Right.
Anyway, but he definitely, as it goes on, when he gets that locker room scene, or not the locker room, they're in the hallway in the locker, and he's like, "Hey," and he just appears behind the thing. I was just like, now it's like a completely different movie. That's the kind of movie this would be now.
I like that he wouldn't realize that he's in that locker, but again, I love the shot when Q is waiting for him at the diner and he comes out of the shadows behind him.
I like that shot.
That shot is really good. That's essentially the same type of shot, the reveal kind
because
of
by then but I do still like, even in that locker room scene, I like when Bishop says, I keep saying locker room scene, that hallway scene.
What movie are you talking about? Are you talking about Caged Heat?
I am talking about Caged Heat. So Tupac's like, I don't care about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about you. I don't care about Raheem. That should scare you.
He just killed the guy. He killed
2 people. Yeah.
Listen, I'm not saying that I understand what it's like to just shoot somebody, but he just killed.
I understand that, and I understand his thought process. I understand that he's definitely got something wrong with him. Well, and he's probably always had that. He's definitely an unhinged character, but I think he takes it a little bit too much of a turn.
I am crazy. But you know what else? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about you. I don't give a fuck about Steele. And I don't give a fuck about Raheem either. I don't give a fuck about myself. Look, I ain't shit. I ain't never gonna be shit. And you less of a man than me, so as soon as I decide that you ain't gonna be shit, pow.
I don't know, man. Teenagers are full of emotions and hormones and just they can't you know what I mean?
I get that, and maybe that's why he just chooses, this is me now. Okay, I'm gonna embrace it.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
If you say that, okay.
But see, I don't think you keep describing him as a villain, and I don't think he's a villain.
Oh, I think he's absolutely the villain. I mean, Steele just does his own thing, but I think
I'll get to Steele. I will get to Steele.
I think they're kind of all the villains in Q's story, because I think Q wants to have his wrecking crew. He wants to help them by doing DJ stuff. Q definitely wants a better life for himself, and he clearly has his own path set up.
Sure.
To him, Juice is being a successful DJ. Juice is having respect and earning his way in life. And
I don't think he bought into that idea. I understand what you're saying.
Q?
No, I'm saying like when they're like, "Oh, you got to have Juice." I think he would just sit in there going, "Yeah, okay, whatever." He just wants to go do what he wants to do. He wants to
I
make
think
music.
everyone else, Juice is power. Juice is just having that respect on the streets through, beating up the other guy, through robbing the convenience store, through having a gun. And to Q, Juice is just being a better person, And his friends are definitely, Raheem says good luck on your DJ thing.
I love that. Yeah,
I got to get that juice by robbing the convenience store.
But speaking of that, when he goes up there and he spins which to Omar Epps' credit, he actually learned how to spin like a DJ.
Oh, is that him spinning?
That is his.
That's good.
Exactly. He learned how to do that for the movie, and that's him up there doing it, which is bravo. That's almost like when Ryan Gosling learns how to play piano for La La Land.
Yeah,
or not La La Land. Was it La La Land?
La La Land,
He learned how to play piano for that. Like what? Like what'd you say? It was like 6 hours a day for like
forever. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great. And when he gets off after his first one, when he wins, and he's walking down and everyone's clapping for him, but like his friends aren't. They're staring at him.
That's just
exactly. But it's just like, it's so like, oh my God. I mean, like at that point, and maybe he doesn't see it, or maybe he does. It's almost like these guys aren't my friends because they would be happy for me. You know what I mean? They're more concerned about robbing the store.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the thing. It's like, I'm sorry, he's your best friend. This is the biggest deal in his life for him. All right, let's say you still want to rob the convenience store. You can't make it next Saturday. You have to make it this Saturday.
I know.
And it's just like, you guys suck. And it's like, that's my note. My note when I watched that scene was, these are the worst fucking friends. When he's like, I got the DJ audition. No, we're doing it this Saturday. what is this Saturday
Yeah, I
different
know.
than next Saturday?
Well, because in movies you always have to have the counter, the two things have to always coincide.
Also, why are you
that.
robbing the convenience store on the weekend when the nights are busiest?
I don't know.
You rob it on a Wednesday
Because it's
night.
a movie, man.
Come on, kids.
So let's talk about Steel. Let's talk about how come there's two things I want to talk about. How come at every movie that there's a group of kids,
there's always the fat lovable
there's
loser.
always a fat kid and he's always crying. Piggy in The Lord of the Flies, Chunk and Goonies, they're always crying. Why? Why are we always
more
giving
sensitive kids?
It's like, oh, come on, man. Like even now
The same thing.
like Huggins is also in Lean on Me and he cries in that too. It's just, come on, man. Like, and I love, but when Bishop shoots him, he misses. He doesn't kill him because he closes his eyes when he fires the gun.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Do you think he did that though? He doesn't do that when he shoots the gang leader, the other kid.
Oh, the gang leader is definitely like, now I have the juice. I'm going to take this guy out.
Yeah.
No,
but do you think he closes his eyes because he's shooting his friend
He's
when
shooting
he
his friend,
fires?
yeah. But he's going to do it because
Yeah.
at this point he thinks, I mean, as soon as he killed Raheem, he's like, again, now I'm defending I'm going against my own point. He has to be this, like, that's kind of to my point. He has to be this villain.
Mm-hmm.
And so he doesn't want to be, but his stupid kid mind is like, this is me now. I have to be this. This is who my character.
Yeah.
So he has to play the part. He doesn't want to shoot Steele, but he does.
Yeah.
And, Raheem, he didn't want to shoot Raheem. It was kind of a spur of the moment in the heat. Like he had the gun
fighting.
and he just
Right.
had the gun. That's what he did.
Yeah.
With the convenience store clerk, though,
They shot him right in
that's
the head.
premeditated for sure.
Oh, yeah, that was like, yeah.
And that's why all his friends are. The correct reaction was, whoa.
What are you doing? Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I like Steele. One of my favorite scenes is when one of the things that is most relatable is, Steele's in his top bunk with his brother and the foot's down.
Yeah.
And so the brother's just like, screw it. He pulls his brother down. I was like, yep, that reminds me of me and my brother.
They never go back. They never see that brother ever again. You see Q's younger brother again.
Yeah, you don't see that kid
But you
again,
never
no.
go back to Steele's family. Which is fine. They set up the family, and that's not a problem with that.
Yeah, Q's family is obviously the most important because Q's our main character.
He's the one that we root for. So the ending.
I don't like the ending.
Okay, well I'm gonna. So you don't like?
I know about the ending.
Okay, so
Yeah.
go ahead.
So the ending that we get is Q is facing off against Bishop on this rooftop.
When he shoots him, he tries to shoot him in the elevator. At that point, if you didn't know Bishop had lost it, at that point he lost.
Oh yeah,
it.
he's lost it. But by this point at the end, Q has disarmed Bishop, so now they're fighting hand to hand. Well, except that Bishop has a plank. So they're fighting on the rooftop. Q's able to overpower him. Bishop kind of goes off the edge of the roof, and Q's trying to pull up Bishop and save his friend, even though his friend has gone off the edge.
Yeah.
And Bishop screaming, "Don't let me drop! Don't let me drop! I don't want to die! I don't want to die!"
Yeah.
And he just slips off and dies. First of all, he disappears on the scene. He just vanishes like
Which
a
I
ghost.
like.
Oh, I hate that.
Oh,
he
I love
disappears.
that.
I hate that. I thought it was so corny.
I thought it was awesome.
Oh,
I like
he
that.
disappears like a ghost. I'm just like, ugh.
I like
come on.
that. I like that.
No.
Yes.
But then we get Q turning around. The entire party that he had ran through to get to this roof had watched the scene.
They're all,
They tell him,
they're all standing there like they're a choir, like they're about to start singing, like they're on rafters. And then he fell. Okay, good.
They got to tell it on the streets because now Q's got the juice. So they go, "Oh, you got the juice now." And Q just kind of shakes his head, and we get freeze frame and the credits roll because Q never wanted the juice.
Right.
And that is not the juice to Q.
Well, they all also, are we to imply that the kid's telling him he's got the juice because he thinks that he threw him over the side?
I think they clearly watched the whole fight.
I hope so.
Whether he dropped them or Bishop slipped, he still beat Bishop.
I got you. Go ahead.
Now he's got it. But, and I get that. And I get that works, that Q doesn't want the juice. And I like that it ends on there. You don't get this big wrap up of now the cops are taking, stealing Q away and they're going to just get probation because they realize it was whatever.
Yeah.
But the original ending was Q puts Bishop over the edge and Bishop doesn't want to be saved as Q's trying to pull him up. Bishop wants to die because Bishop already said, which fits with Bishop's character because he says in school, I don't care if I live or die. It's not about that. But before I die, I'm getting that juice. I'm getting that power.
You get that also in the scene when they're watching White Heat and he's seeing James
exactly.
James Cagney
It calls
die.
back to White Heat when he goes, that's how you go out in a blaze of glory.
Yep.
it doesn't matter how long you live as long as that's how you go out.
Yep. That is the original ending and the correct ending.
And test audiences didn't like it.
Yes. They did not like it. And
they wanted Bishop to cry for his life. And
they didn't like the way it ended, and Paramount told them to change it.
Exactly. Did Paramount not watch the same movie? Did they not watch the movie?
No, they probably didn't.
It's just like, oh my God.
Because they don't care. Because if test audience said they didn't like it, then that means they're not going to make enough money, which means change it. Exactly. That's what that means.
Here's my question. Who was in that test audience? A bunch of white mothers
probably
watching this?
Probably.
Because anybody else watching this movie
probably
would be, that's the right ending.
Yeah.
Where Bishop wants to die because it fits his character and it calls back to the middle of the movie where he's watching White Heat.
Like if you're in that, like test audiences are usually run by a proctor. If you're the proctor, do you at some point go like, did you watch the scene when they watched White Heat? Did you not understand that they're harkening back to that? Yeah, but we don't like it. Well, then you're stupid.
Exactly. Come on. At some point you got to rest on your laurels and be like, no.
And
as a first time director, maybe he's just like, well, if you want it, I don't want to lose my jobs.
I understand that, but I know he says that he regrets that he did that. But honestly, I can understand why he did it because you want the movie to be out there. Mm-hmm. But like, shame on you, Paramount exec, whatever exec did that, because you clearly don't understand what's happening in this movie. The whole movie is set up for this ending, and you just, it's annoying. It's the original. You almost want them to re-release it with the original.
I was just going to say, I want the director's cut. And it's too bad that it's not out there. Because I really like Juice, even though I think the third act kind of stumbles and becomes this like weird kind of teenage villain thing. A little bit. It's still really good.
It's also 95 minutes though. You know what I'm saying? Like if this movie was 2 hours, that criticism would probably be more valid. I'm not saying it's not valid. I'm saying it would be even more because it's such a long movie, but it's 95 minutes. It's tight. It's to the point.
Right.
So you're okay with that.
And it moves and it's great. And then you get this ending and it's just, as I watched, I was like, as soon as Bishop cried for his life, I was just like, no.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to let himself fall and just don't save me. Let me go.
Absolutely. That's the ending.
And then I read that was the ending and I was like, okay, now I like the ending better because now I know that wasn't their choice. Knowing that makes me like the end more because in my mind's eye, I can say,
that's the original ending.
The original ending is this. So
this movie.
I can just ignore Bishop's cries for help.
So that stupid executive and those stupid test audiences have no idea what they're talking about. Idea what they're talking about. Dumb. You're right. That's the ending that should have happened. That's the ending they set up. And what are you going to do? You're beholden to the people that are giving you money for it. So
like, do you not like that Tupac dies? Is that it? Like, that's the other thing is like, are your test audience all Tupac fans? Because even still, your Tupac fans should still like.
But this was way before he was like he
wasn't big yet.
Right. He was even his first album. I should have done more research, but he was writing on the set. Like he was creating the songs that he became popular for on the set. So he wasn't really big yet. But then this came out. Then his album came out. Then he just because he dies 5 years later. He dies in '96.
So he wanted So he
explodes.
So he wanted to be an actor first, and then he became a singer-songwriter?
No. I think he was always going to be. I think this was just kind of like
lucky happenstance. Like he auditioned.
What I read is that he was already, friends with a lot of people within the scene.
Okay.
And there's two stories, and who knows which one. He went and read for it. He went and read for Q, and then he read for Bishop, and they liked him, or they read again. That's what I heard. Then I heard that he went with Tretch from Naughty by Nature. And he asked, hey, could I read? And he nailed the audition there because he threw a chair. Who knows what's real? He just probably read and they loved him and they put him in. But he was already involved in entertainment. Right, he knew that's what he wanted. Okay. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you're first starting out, you're just going to take any shot you can.
I don't think he'd be a good Q.
Well, who knows? Whatever. The one thing, but what I was going to talk about at the end too was, so it just ends on the freeze frame. And I'm thinking to myself, I kind of want to see what happens with Q. And they dropped that radio thing in the end where he's on you hear his album.
His album drops.
And I'm like, that's okay. But then I'm thinking, okay, he's going to have to talk to the cops. They're going to want to know what happened. Like all those people on the roof, what did they see? Like there's a lot of like unknown stuff. And I guess I'm okay with it. But then it still was in my head kind of like, well, what exactly is going to happen with him? Because eventually they're going to discover that gun was used in the robbery. And eventually they're going to discover that Q was there. He's an accomplice. He's, you know what I mean?
Well, which gun did Bishop hide? Bishop has 2 guns.
No, he doesn't. He has 1 gun. Where did he get the second gun?
You don't know.
No,
Raheem tries to grab the gun from Bishop, and Bishop pulls another gun out of his
No, he
pants.
doesn't. No, he doesn't. That's his belt. That's his belt buckle. He only has one gun. There's only one gun.
You sure?
I'm positive.
I want to pause this for a second.
Why?
So during that pause, we rewatched the scene from Juice where Raheem tries to wrestle the gun from Bishop. And lo and behold, Bishop had 2 guns. Game, set, match. Butler 1, Field 0. Now back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
Why hide one gun?
Well, which gun? I think the murder gun is the one he hid. So he's got the one that killed Raheem. So they still don't have the gun that killed the convenience store clerk. Although their fingerprints are all over the murder gun, the convenience store murder gun.
At some point, they're going to place Q at the scene of the robbery.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's going to be, now granted, he's a juvenile. So maybe
That's the thing, yeah.
Okay. But, or maybe they don't. Maybe they just kind of open and shut case. They don't care. Whatever they're saying. Not explaining it is awfully tidy. But I think there would be some kind of, not reckoning, but consequence for Q being involved with the convenience store.
Well, he didn't murder the guy.
True, but Steele.
I think they still probably go. Like Steele definitely. As soon as he told his sister's Raheem's sister's definitely going to the cops.
Right.
She obviously wants justice for her brother.
Right.
I think Steele and Q probably go to jail, or juvenile hall, or probation, or whatever for a set amount of time.
Yeah. Well, but
Q gets out. He's still got street cred. Now he's still got
fine.
Juice.
I'm fine with that.
So
but
now
still,
you still see his DJ
but
thing.
still, there's going to be a reckoning.
Right. I still think maybe that DJ thing that they're doing at the credits is like 2 years later.
Maybe, because they don't want to.
So you can see that Q maybe still paid for his crime, but he's out there and he's no longer got Bishop hanging over him or Raheem having him make these bad decisions.
Right.
I mean, Steele, obviously, although he was in on the crime, Steele clearly had reservations about it too, because when they go to the convenience store, Steele's all of a sudden panicking. He doesn't want to do it.
Right. Well, that's the other thing. One of the things I enjoyed was this. Well, you saw it more with Raheem, I guess. Maybe with all of them is they all want to be tough to want to do this.
Right.
But then when it happens, it's like, what do we do? The panic that sets
kids,
in. Yeah. Because you act tough to a point in terms of, obviously this is a bit more of an extreme, killing a person, but let's just say like just hanging out, you act tough and then something happens and it kind of, you shrink a little. We talked about that last week with Go, where Sarah Polley's character was, trying to be apathetic and was the way she was behaving. Like, but then you realize the terror in her eyes when she realizes that she's about to get busted, that kind of thing.
Realize the terror.
I'm talking about the dichotomy between the two feelings, having two feelings at the same time. Very difficult. You're the actor, for an actor to feel two different things and emote those at the same time.
Right.
But it often happens in life. So, that's all I'm saying. Not that I'm comparing the two movies. Was truancy such a big issue
I was going
in
to
the
bring
90s
that up.
where cops just are chasing you from roof to roof?
Oh my God. They really want these kids to go to school.
Seriously. What's the point? I mean,
I was like, that scene happened before Elise went to bed. And I mentioned that to her. I was like, are truant officers that hardcore in New York City?
Yeah.
Get to school.
It's what's probably more realistic, definitely now, is when Steele sneaks out, runs out, and the truant officer from the school chases after him. He's just like, whatever.
Yeah, he goes across. He gives him one block and then goes, nah.
Yeah, I know.
I do think that's funny when Steele's busy playing Street Fighter and he's winning.
Yeah.
And everybody else is running. He doesn't care. He just wants to beat the score.
Yes. I used to have Reebok air pumps.
I figured you did.
They suck. You did them. They pumped. They were terrible.
I remember one year I really wanted them, and my mom wouldn't get them for me. She's like, "No, these are the stupidest things. They don't do anything."
Listen,
and even the Reebok store guy was like, "Yeah, you don't want pumps," and I was like, "No, they're so cool.
They are cool. I like them, but they just after a while it was just like they didn't pump up, and it's like they stink." But they were cool when you got them.
I did get a pair of Jordans once. Those were my nicest sneakers.
I don't think I've ever.
But they were white and red. They were so nice, and then I never wore them because I never wanted to scuff them.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pointless.
Let's talk about that record clerk and how really ugly she was.
Listen, she's got to get that other gold tooth.
I was like, God bless you, Q. Taking one for the team here.
That's why, like, I think when he saw her from behind, he's like, all right, this is going to be easy. And then she turns around. He's just like, I love that he's trying to hide his own smile and laughing while she's trying to get the number.
Yeah, it's funny. But like Q has like 4 girlfriends. And they're
who's he got?
Well, not 4, but he goes. So Yolanda.
Yeah, let's bring up Yolanda. I mean, it's cool in movies when a kid from high school is going out with an older lady. It's like, oh yeah, good for you. In real life, that's called pedophilia.
Yeah, and she's like,
you're getting busted.
Wait a minute, but that's not the same girl that when he went. Is that the same girl he went over the house when the old guy was there? That
yeah,
really?
Yeah,
yeah. I'm sorry, but
she's 30 something probably.
Seriously, what are you doing? And you're like completely okay with it. Maybe that's just something that I don't know.
It's a movie thing. I think. In real life, you're going to jail.
Well, maybe he's 18. Maybe that the point is that he's not. I don't know. Maybe I just don't get it.
I don't know. I don't know how they never really say how old they are. I mean, if he's a senior, then he better get to class quick because I don't know if he's graduating. I have as many times as they skip class, but
they don't. They clearly don't go to school. You see Donald Faison in the movie.
I love that. Yeah, he makes it got a lot of dust on that. Or whatever.
Yeah, he's like, it's been so long, you forgot.
Okay, that's it.
And he leaves. But I think he auditioned for one of the other roles or Q's role or something like that. Didn't get it. But like Clueless was 96. So yeah, he's 4 years later. He's
Then he gets Turk.
Yeah, well that's a great role.
Yep,
that's a great role. What about Sam Jackson hitting on teenagers? Did you notice that?
I thought that was funny. I every time it happened, I was just like, this is really.
He's just like, hey man,
it's gross, but it's funny. And he's talking with the other older guy when they're at the arcade. The only two like grown men.
Yeah,
and they're talking about their some lady's ass or whatever.
Yep.
I thought that was great.
Do you get that the gang, Redeemus,
the Puerto Rican gang,
that he would get the Chinatown reference, that he would be able to would know that Chinatown reference
in 1992, maybe.
Yeah, but also I'm thinking that these guys are in film school. They're writing this. They probably, you know what I mean? Like they put that in.
Oh,
there,
absolutely. That's why. Yeah.
But I think they might. You ever see Chinatown? He's gonna cut his nose.
I didn't think it was realistic that Tupac's watching White Heat. I'm sorry, that's an old movie.
Well, they're
in
at
1992.
Home. Yeah, I know, but they're at home and watching TV. That's another probably filmmaking thing. Excuse me, film like a film school thing. Yeah.
Unless you really appreciate film, like unless Tupac's Bishop's character really wanted to go to film school. You're not watching a movie that old.
True, but that's
really
the quickest and best way to get your point across for an ending that obviously never happened, as we talked about.
Sure,
is to have that. So that's the best way to do that, and so I don't have a problem with that. Let's talk about Jackie Sweets, the middle-aged gun dealer, who's. She asked him, "Are you?" What she said? What's his mother's name?
Son?
Yeah.
Tell
her. I said, "Tell Jackie said hi. Here you go." That gives him a free gun.
I think she must know that the word on the street gets around. I mean, the sheriff knows that he got the part for the DJ audition when he's walking back from getting the DJ audition.
True.
So I think word gets around the street pretty quick about what's going on a little bit.
Right.
So I think she knows that even if she doesn't know that Bishop's doing it or who's doing what, and they know that Raheem got killed.
Mm-hmm.
I think they probably know that something happened in the convenience store. So she knows that he needs some kind of protection, so she gives him that little pea shooter piece of crap, and he throws it in the ocean.
Well, because he doesn't want it, because that's not how he wants to do it.
Return the thing; those are expensive.
It's more symbolic when he throws it into the East River. How about the scene when the cops bring him in? Did you like the way that was shot? I actually liked it.
It's okay.
I was when they're coming in and out of darkness and into the light and. But what I kept thinking also was, how has Steele not confessed? He was like, he looked like he was ready to talk. Like, I could not understand how he did not talk.
He almost does. Every time, everything Steele says is very like on the brink of, exactly.
Like they should have just been like, there should have been a scene when the two cops are together and they're like, let's just talk to the fat kid because he's clearly going to talk to us.
I think that's clearly what they did because he's clearly so close.
Yeah.
And even Steele says, I can't remember exactly what they say, but I know Steele's description of the events don't quite match Bishop's mention of the events, but they don't give anything away to the point where it is any kind of evidence that they can use. But it's like their defenses don't line up at all.
Maybe they should ask to borrow Steele's giant flannel jacket. That thing is huge. Yeah. So, we haven't asked the question yet. Why do you think this was forgotten?
Well, it might be forgotten. One thing I wanted to bring up, which might be why it's forgotten.
Okay.
Is one of the things I like about this film, which I kind of brought up right before we were recording, is that this film isn't necessarily like somebody described it as a hood film. You said on the Wikipedia.
When I was on Wikipedia, I was watching Wikipedia. You look it up, and it was just like they always have external links. One of the external links was like New Jack City, Boys in the Hood, and it was just like list of all hood films. And I was like, come on, Wikipedia, be better than that.
First of all, the term hood is kind of derogatory.
It is derogatory, kind of.
Also, this isn't really a film about
This is about.
This is a film about kids. It's not a film about. You could put this film as they could be affluent kids.
This is a coming of age film.
They could be in suburbia. They could be white. They could be black. They could be Asian. They could be Latino. They don't need to be anything. This is exactly a coming of age film about kids who
growing up in a tough environment,
tough environment, and wanting to be tough. It doesn't even have to be a tough environment, but wanting to be.
I'm saying this movie.
Movie, yeah, wanting to be tough.
Right.
And I think that kind of sets it back in terms of if you're watching this film, maybe you want it to be more Boys in the Hood. You want it to be more Menace to Society. You want it to be more New Jack. You want it to be more like tough in the projects, gangster kind of a film. And it's not really a gangster type crime film. It really is a coming of age tale for kids, not for kids, but of kids. And I think maybe that sets it apart. If you're looking for a crime thriller, this isn't really going to fit your bill.
Part of the reason probably why this is grouped together with those is you had your New Jack City was 91.
Mm-hmm.
Boys in the Hood was 91. They're both big hits.
Yep.
They're both popular, both critical. New Jack City is a critical darling, but Boys in the Hood was a huge hit. It launched Singleton's career. So you had movies that were very popular. Executives were like, okay, we got to get our next Boys in the Hood. So they were reading tons of scripts like this. So in that regard, that's the relationship you have between Juice and these other movies. But you're right. Juice is even though the setting is similar in terms of tough environments and young black kids, it is a coming of age tale about of that deals with Q, but also deals with three other friends and just kind of what happens in, when a situation arises between, when a gun is introduced or anything like that, when the quote unquote, the attainment of Juice is more important to these children than anything else, to these teenagers than anything else.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely not. It's very different from those other movies that we're talking about. But those other movies' success are the reason why Juice gets made, or part of the reason why Juice gets made. But it's just, I actually prefer this movie to New Jack City. When we did New Jack City,
I still love New Jack, I'm surprised how much I like Juice. Not like I was expecting Juice not to be good, but because I had heard of it, but no one really talks about it. I wasn't expecting it to be anything great. I really enjoyed it. It's a fresh, interesting, better told. It is a better told story. I will admit that.
New Jack City is good for different reasons.
It bleeds cool.
Absolutely.
And I think what New Jack kind of skates on.
And that's
cool.
fine. Yeah. And also its symbolic nature of the crack epidemic and all that stuff.
Right.
That's fine. It's more of not a societal movie. It's more of a influential film, I guess. Maybe that's, I can't remember what we talked about.
We talk about it's like a fairy tale, like almost like
right. It's a different type of story.
It's a fable.
Right. It's a different type of story. This just feels like a stronger story, or I responded to the story in Juice more strongly than I did maybe the other movies. But there's no other comparison other than it's the reason why it got made was their success. Other than that, it's a coming of age tale about these kids, and it's all well acted. I mean, I'm not a huge Steele guy in terms of he's more of a caricature, I would think.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I still you need a little bit of that levity. That Steele kind of brings to it.
That's fine, but the three other leads were all strong.
Yes,
even though you didn't like Tupac as much as I did, right?
I think Tupac. Yeah, I think Tupac is acting.
Yeah, so.
It's a good acting, but I don't think he's reacting as realistically as maybe
you wonder if the original ending was put in there, if this would have done better, and I think it would have.
I think so as well.
I think it would have had better word of mouth. I think January release is tough for this movie. This movie's anything in January. No, it still made it good for $20 million for January release. That's very good. Back in the 90s, it's very good.
No huge leads.
No, true, absolutely.
At the time, anyway.
Yeah, these are all people at the beginning of their career. I mean, you didn't have like a Judd Nelson thrown in there. I keep referencing Wesley Snipes from, you didn't have big names.
Right.
You know what I mean? Well, because even Sam Jackson's not a big name, but he is not as big as he is now, obviously. But
This is pre-Jurassic
Queen
Park.
Latifah. I mean, you had Fab Five Freddy in there. You had Dr. Dre in there because they were at the MC
You had
stuff.
some- yeah,
you had
they had
New
a lot
York
of-
centric based stuff.
They had a lot of Def Jam stuff.
Yeah,
in the
because
movie.
you had MTV Raps there as well. That's what Fab Five was there for.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm surprised Def Jam didn't produce it. When you were listing off the production facts, I was surprised Def Jam didn't have a hand
maybe.
in it.
Well, those were the only. I mean,
Listed, yeah.
the only two names I had. Yeah, I didn't do a deep dive in
The
associate
very
producers.
first thing you see is a Def Jam record going down on the to the
Yeah,
table.
but back. I mean, credit now. Like in terms of like how credit is put into movies or people
It's
trying
different
to get,
than
it's different than
back
back then, because you have to credit everybody now in terms of
Right.
there's always
I do always mention titles, how much I don't like opening titles in the early 90 films when they're shaky or lame.
yeah
I really like the neon spin disc title films. I thought they were really cheesy in 90s, but it really worked. And
Yeah.
I thought I was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right, so thanks, Aaron, for suggesting this. I mean, I appreciate. I always appreciate when I can revisit a movie and I have a different opinion and a favorable opinion of it. It just it's part of this season. Even though we didn't like some of the movies, but it's still great to go back and hear everyone's suggestions. But it's always great to that. I don't know if I would have put Juice on our list. I don't know if I would have thought of it. Because even when you suggested it, I was like, okay, but I never would have thought of it. And that's great because I wouldn't have rewatched it again and I wouldn't have appreciated it a bit more.
Right. When I was coming up with different movies, because when I was watching New Jack, I wanted to put Menace to Society. And then when it was mentioned, I was like, I don't think this is forgotten. And like that solidified it. But there was an alternate option in Juice that we could have put down
Right.
that I wouldn't have thought.
Yes.
And it's the fan, it's the audience that, recommends something. When we recommend one thing and it attaches to another, it's like, because we were making those comparisons with New Jack. And I think that makes for a better conversation.
Sure.
And it's an interesting way to look at films.
Yeah.
Be able to compare something so close to the release of something else.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So.
anyone out there, you can find it. It's on Prime.
It's on Prime.
Yeah,
Available
you gotta
right
rent
on
it.
Prime.
I would definitely check it out. If you missed it or maybe you saw it, you don't remember too much. It's worth a it's absolutely worth a revisit. All these movies are.
It is not the kind of film
So.
you might think it is going into it.
Absolutely.
It,
I know.
was well told.
I would assume that when I tell somebody, "Hey, you ever seen Juice?" they immediately think of Tupac Shakur. Oh, he's really good in that.
Yeah.
Or oh, he's great in that. But you should watch it again because there's a lot more than just that. He is good in it, but there's more than just that.
Yeah, everyone is good in it.
Right.
It's a good story.
Right. So thanks, Aaron. Thanks for suggesting it. Next week, we'll be wrapping up season 5, Audience Choice. It comes to an end, Mike.
Say it ain't so.
I'm saying it so.
Oh, okay.
All right. So next week, we are going to be wrapping up with a movie that I actually like, and I don't know. You said you didn't like. We're going to be seeing the 2000 wrestling movie, Ready to Rumble. I'm telling you,
I watched it once and I thought it was pretty corny, but I'll watch it again.
It is.
Maybe my opinion's
corny, but
changed.
it makes. I don't know why it makes me laugh. There's stuff in there that makes me laugh, and I've always enjoyed this movie, so it was a good choice.
I saw it in middle school, so maybe maybe I'll like it a little bit more. But
so this was suggested to us by Joey DiCarlo. He's from the So Wizard podcast, and we'll have him on next week in terms of his audio and why he recommended it and whatnot. And he can pump his show to you and all that stuff, which is also a great thing. But that's it. We'll be wrapping up season 5 next week. Do you want to do our standard, hey, come visit us at local places? I don't know.
Sure, I'll do the come visit us at local places. Come visit us at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com. It's not local, it's on the internet.
It's local as local gets.
It's right there in your dining room or living room, wherever you're on your laptop. When you go on ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com, there's a link to our merch store if you want to buy some of our merch. There's also a link to all of our episodes, past and present, as well as a contact page if you have recommendations. Just because this is all audience choice doesn't mean we don't pepper audience choice in throughout our seasons that we go forward. So go ahead and recommend a movie. Let us know how you did. Let us know your comments on movies on our social media posts. We have social media on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're all over the place at Forgotten Cinema Pod. Let us know what you think of the movies. Watch our commercials.
Please.
And yeah,
Rate,
remember
review,
to
tell
like,
people.
review, rate, subscribe, spread the word about our show. We're available wherever podcasts can be found. So wherever you're listening to this, plus way more.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Go watch Juice. Join us next week for Ready to Rumble. And that's it. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema. Season 5, Audience Choice.
Yo, you got the juice now, man.